My curiosity, the same curiosity that I'm applying to myself is, Janet, what was so beautiful about the pre-COVID days? Did you not dislike anything about it at all? So the power of calling out, right? Is the power of putting whatever that's real, the real reality in your face. And that is very powerful as well. Once we see that clarity of reality and not live in our infatuation, that gives us power, empowers us to move forward. So for example, I would do one exercise, right? I would bring out my journal and I would practice the counterintuitive. I know coaches would tell you, write out what you're grateful for, but I'm going to give you a little task here, which is quite counterintuitive. I need you to write out what you dislike, what you don't appreciate, what you hate about the pre-COVID lover. Right? If your lover's name is pre-COVID.
Right.
Everything that's not nice about it. And then I'd like you to read through it and say, what does it teach me? And how can I reboot, rewrite the story in the post-COVID days? Or even now. Now is already COVID and post-COVID.
Right.
You know, it's just, there is something I often use with my clients. It is called the meditative journaling. And, you know, the thing is, when we write, I mean, physically writing with an old-fashioned book and pen, we are writing, you know, the speed of, we are slowing our thoughts down.
Right.
And so that the speed of writing and the speed of thought becomes one. And we allow our pen to take us everywhere. Because the pen is now the medium, right, of our thoughts. And we just let go and write with the theme of what I didn't like or appreciate about my relationship with pre-COVID days. Because honestly, we need to acknowledge what created us. Those days that we walked made us who we are, right? We need to acknowledge that before we can get on to the next stage and say, so now that my relationship with pre-COVID days have ended, what kind of now and post-COVID days would I like to create? And if you feel that you are not being able to be honest with yourself somehow, I would really invite you to think about looking for a coach, getting a coach to help you, because a coach's duty really is to be that talking out loud thoughts, you know, to be that very honest and very candid thinking mind of yours to ask, really? Is that so?
Right.
You know.
Right.
Yeah.
Or as in CIQ, we call it candor and care, right?
Exactly. Candor and care.
Yeah. How does one get out of the funk from learning these things and into acting towards the new? And I think this is part of the risk. Trying new things out. What's the best way, or if not, what are your thoughts on it?
I have 3 recommendations linking back to risk. And I'm inviting you, I'm challenging you to take these 3 risks. So here is risk 1. We spoke briefly about it. Not being the star of your universe. Right? So I would invite you to reframe your story where you are not at the center. Put a different hero there. It could be your client. It could be your family. It could be your friends. But I would challenge you to just get the hell out of there and allow someone to take that center seat for a moment. Try that, yeah. And see what emerges for you.
I think that's fantastic, because we're talking to entrepreneurs here. We're talking to people who some have been displaced from jobs. And it's really tough. It's really tough not to look at oneself, sometimes feel sorry, sometimes feel upset. But if you get out of the center, Janet is describing really a huge, powerful tenet in good entrepreneurship, which is think outward. Look at customers, look at family members, look at friends.
So risk number 2, being of service. Not only are you going to give up your C seat or the center seat, you're going to serve them. So by serving, it is not just really about the mentality of, hi, we are all members of this universe, country, village, whatever you call it, right? So what can I do? How can I do it to help all of us live better? And I thought this is especially appropriate in the current moment. Honestly, the situation hits all of us at different degrees, no doubt. But you may be surprised when you're able to step out of your center of universe to take a look at other people, how much they might be suffering more than you, how much they could be coping better than you because they are doing something which you never thought of. And perhaps there are certain values that you can create you never realize. Hey, we are useful after all. We may be no longer served in the old way in the pre-COVID days.
Right.
But hey, there are new ways that we are useful once all over again.
I just realized, Janet, I am so happy whenever I'm helping someone online.
Right.
You know, and we were just talking about how tired we can be, right? After, you get really physically exhausted. But just the act of supporting somebody else, I guess, in our world in CIQ, right? It fills you up with oxytocin, and then, time passes, flow becomes possible. And sometimes, it really takes that humble act of getting ourselves out of the center and then taking a risk on, trying to be of value to somebody else rather than just being concerned of what value we can get. Because right now, there's this prevailing sense of scarcity, right? Because of the limitations that the COVID world has brought upon everybody.
And if the entrepreneur never have a mindset to solve any problems for the society, for people, it is very difficult for his or her business to have sustainability. And guess what? You don't need another COVID-19. You just need another trigger and you'll be gone again. Reboots, restarts, wallow in self-pity very quickly.
Right. Thank you for that. What's the third?
Oh, what's the third is even more counterintuitive.
That's why you're here.
That's why I'm here. So risk number 3, be willing to be triggered. What does that mean? Okay, so I'm coming not from the fact of emotional triggers, okay? So I'm talking about technical triggers.
Okay.
Right, and this is something I've learned from my investor, my stocks and shares traders, right? So what happened is that there are people who use technical trading methodology. They would plot out, they would study, they would understand what goes up, what goes down. Right? And there is usually a trend, a pattern, and they would put down once the stocks and shares hits this value, I'm going to buy or sell. Once it hits this value, I'm going to buy or sell. So in other words, it's called scenario planning. And it is also the philosophy of slow thinking and quick thinking, right? Thinking fast, thinking slow. You put in effort in thinking slow first, right? To plan the scenarios so that when that moment happens, it's a trigger for you to take certain action. And you will no longer be that overwhelmed because you planned for it. So the third risk really is about less of a knowledge and emotional risk, but a technical risk, an action risk that you can literally plan for even in your captivated state. The more you should do that, you should harness on your captivated stage, right? And say, if this happens again, what would I do? How would I do differently?